So pleased to be here. I'm Jill Standish, and I am the Senior Managing Director of Retail here at Accenture. When the team came to me and said, Jill, we'd like for you to take 5 minutes, do a bumper segment, I didn't know what the word bumper meant. But I'm here for a few, and they said, we want you to tell your story. And I thought to myself, well, geez, I have a lot of stories, for those of you who know me. So first of all, I got to make sure it's a clean one. But also, I thought to myself, with the theme of International Women's Day, the theme for Global International Women's Day is Be Bold for Change. And then the theme, obviously, here at Accenture is Leading in the New. I thought those themes, let me play off on that. And I'll tell my story not because it's incredibly interesting, but I really want to inspire people who, if you ever find yourself in the situation that I was, maybe you have the same courage. You can look back to my story and say, if she could do it, maybe I could too. So my story starts, I graduated college and I started with NCR. For those of you who don't know that firm, it's a very iconic brand years and years ago for cash registers. So I was actually selling cash registers for a living in Boston. And so that was my career. And then I quickly got recruited to go to IBM. And I had a wonderful, wonderful career at IBM. As a matter of fact, I lasted there 27 years. And in that time, I actually moved from the East Coast to the West, big, bold change. I got married. I had 2 children. And I was on the Gap for about 7 years. And you know, if you remember the Gap, that was the heyday when the Gap was expanding globally. And we were young, and we were making decisions, and the people at the Gap and myself at the time, we learned a ton. And I'll tell you, that network of being under fire and doing things bold, those friends that I had at the Gap, they were my client, those are still my friends today. And they're now in all these different retailers around the world, and so I'm grateful for that network. Then IBM said, listen, we want to move you back to the East Coast. Now, at the time, I had 2 children. They were starting to call me dude. They liked to surf, and I said, let me get them back to the East Coast. So sorry for those of you who are Californians, but it was a little time for me to get some good old-fashioned upbringing. So in any event, I was in the East Coast, and I was at IBM, and fast forward in my career, I was there for a long time, and it was time to go. It was time to go. I'm not going to tell you the reason because I don't want to disparage against a really good firm. But I was soured, and I thought to myself, I got to go. I had a lot of people that were looking up to me because, you know, as the previous speaker just talked about, there weren't a lot of role models that, at the time, were senior women who really were balanced. I mean, really balanced. Not the women who have tons of help at home and have nannies. I mean, I cook, I go to soccer games, my kids know who I am. And so for me, this notion of having, you know, a senior female who really, really was balanced, I thought, if I'm sour and I'm for this balancing act, I gotta go. So I left and I went to Oracle. And I realized within like a couple of months, it was not for me. So another big, bold change. I lasted there a year, and not disparaging against Oracle, it just wasn't me. And I knew it right away. So my moral compass said, Jill, if you are going to be who you want to be in your career and you want to be balanced, you got to get out. And thank God I met Accenture. And I'm thrilled to be here. So if you take that story, the one thing that was kind of common throughout all of this was, when I knew that I was in a bad place, I wanted to get out. But I also kept a common theme throughout all of this, which was my industry. So I had a wonderful network. Again, it started really back in the Gap days. And that industry connection really kept me grounded. So it didn't really matter what my business card said. I had a network. And that was wonderful. Now comes to big, bold change number 2. After 20 years of marriage, 10 of which were good, I said, I'm out of here. I won't give you the reasons, because that's another good story. But after 20 years of marriage, raising these kids, I thought, what message am I sending to my children if I stay? I mean, I'm sure there's some of you in this audience, I hate to say it, but are probably facing that same decision, which is, I'm not in a good place. I don't really like this. I'm not happy. What do I do? So I left, paid him off. See you later, kicked him to the curb, as they say. But then I was thinking to myself, well, this will be great. Obviously I've got enough money. I've got a great career. I'm doing fine. So I said, let me just go get an apartment in the city and have great clothes. And I got friends. I don't need a guy. I mean, I'm sure there's women out there that can kind of relate to that. Sorry, but it's true. But then I fell in love. I met a man, and I fell in love, and I got remarried. Big, bold change again. And I think the big thing about that was within really 2 years of my life, I had changed my job, my house, and I also got married, and I changed my name. Now, I had a brand. And my brand was, I was on social media. I did speaking engagements. I was all over Twitter. I actually was in the news a lot. And here I am hanging out with this name, which is from my ex-husband. And I'm like, I don't want to have his name anymore. So I was someone else, and now I'm Jill Standish. And I can't tell you how thrilled I am about that. And now when we check into a hotel, they don't say, hello, Mr. and Mrs. Polari. They say, hello, Mr. and Mrs. Standish. And my husband is really happy about that, by the way. So again, this notion of leading in the new, rebranding. If you think of that story of starting over again and continually changing who you are, keep your network, obviously, is a big one. But the other thing is, even if you do change your name, which sounds completely crazy at my age, the people who know me still know me, and it doesn't matter. So, have the courage if you do want to change your name. You won't get lost. So far, I'm not lost. Now, the last piece of this is what effect does this have on kids? Women working, balancing. You guys, we all know it. We don't talk about it enough. And I was a very, very balanced woman, but I traveled a lot, and it was hard. So I thought what I'd do is share with you, if I can keep it together. It was a speech from my son, and he wrote it about me. Are you ready? Okay. First of all, it's not that good. But the message is really good. All right. But really, so first of all, I have to tell you, my kids are old enough to have sex and drink, so they're older. They're older. I don't have teenagers. I have men now, and they're in their 20s. And this was written for a speech class at college. All right. Jill Standish, one of the smartest and most hardworking people I have ever met, and has been my role model as a person and as a professional for many years. Graduating from a self-provided education at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, then working very hard on a career moving up in a global retail market. This is funny. Dealing with egotistical men, foreign differences in business, and advancements in technology all at the same time has helped this woman get to where she is today. My mother has given my family more than most have, but at the same time has had a lot of sacrifices as well. She was self-motivated to continually improve her career. She managed to be a wonderful mother of 2 boys. This was very hard at times for her. Being on a conference call while making her son lunch, dealing with home issues, and still having a mother's presence in her family's life. She had to balance and would constantly ask herself, do I weigh one over the other? Am I a good mother figure to my kids? Do I spend enough time away from my professional career? She was left with unfair choices and feelings of herself at many points in her life. It's good, isn't it? By the way, you should hire my kid. He needs a job soon. Especially when her sons were going through adolescence. Being able to be a mother, she was constantly shown love in my life. as well as being the most successful career, are the reasons why my mother is the most important person in my life.